My name is Naomi Kerrigan. I'm 34 years old, and for most of my life, I thought family worked like a two-way street. You give, they give. You show up for them, they show up for you. Turns out, in my family, it was a one-lane highway, and I was the only one behind the wheel. I can still see my sister's face that day. She smirked, tilted her head just so, like she was posing for a camera only she could see. You're not invited to my wedding. It's for family only. My mother didn't flinch. She actually smiled and said, "So proud of you, sweetheart." I just nodded, feeling something inside me go very, very still. "Perfect," I said. "Then I'll pull my name off the family account." They both laughed at first, like I'd told a joke. Later, I'd watch them laugh again in the family group chat. Memes, emojis, inside jokes, as if I'd just thrown a tantrum. But by morning, their faces would be pale. Mother would beg. My sister would cry. That part comes later. Chelsea has always known how to make herself the center of the room. She isn't some cartoon villain. She's worse than that. She's someone who grows up being told the world will rearrange itself for her, and then it actually does. My younger sister Chelsea floated through life like everyone owed her something, and for years I played along. When she got fired from that dog grooming place because she kept forgetting to show up on time, I covered her rent. When she maxed out her credit card because it was still linked to an old Amazon Prime trial she didn't know about, I paid it off before collections could hit her. When her car died, she borrowed mine for 3 months straight, while I Ubered to work and pretended it was no big deal. The worst part wasn't the money, it was the silence. The way she'd slide back into my life like nothing had happened, like my help was just built in. No thank you. No. Hey, I'll pay you back when I can. Just this unspoken rule. Naomi doesn't have kids. Naomi doesn't have a husband. Naomi has no real responsibilities. So Naomi pays. I told myself I didn't mind, that I was just being a good sister, that when it was my turn to need something, they'd show up. Then last weekend happened, and whatever illusion I'd been clinging to burned to the ground. We were at my parents' house for what was supposed to be the final planning meeting for Chelsea's wedding. Chelsea was sprawled on the couch in leggings, and Brian's oversized hoodie, scrolling through Pinterest like she was choosing yachts instead of venues. Her phone screen kept flashing pictures of turquoise water and glassy villas. Bora Bora, Greece, she murmured, half to herself. Oh, look, overwater bungalows in the Maldives. She said Maldives like she'd been there 3 times, like it was the automatic backdrop of her life. She didn't look at me when she spoke next. She just kept scrolling. Flights are going to be like $3,200 total, she said. Then, casually, well, you already paid for the venue. What's a little more? The room went quiet for a second. My mother pretended to wipe a non-existent crumb from the table. I laughed. Not the kind of laugh that means something is funny. The kind that slips out when you realize you've been cast in a role you never auditioned for. Yeah, no, I said. I'm not paying for the honeymoon, Chelsea. That's for you and Brian. That's kind of the point. She didn't answer right away. Her thumb froze above the screen. Then she locked her phone, set it down, and stood up. I watched her pull on that practiced, glossy smile she uses for Instagram stories, the one that got her free teeth whitening once because a brand thought she was relatable. You're not invited to my wedding, she said brightly. It's family only. There was a tiny pause, like the room itself was waiting to see if this was a joke. Then Mom clapped. Literally clapped. Proud of you, honey, she said, eyes shining, like Chelsea had just defended a thesis and not banished her sister. I looked at them both. No one laughed. No one said, okay, that's enough. They meant it. So I smiled right back, the way you smile when a bone is breaking. Perfect, I said. Then I'll pull my name off the family account. Chelsea's mouth twitched for half a second. Mom's brows knit like she'd misheard me. You're not serious, Mom said. But I was. I went home and opened my laptop before I could talk myself out of it. I logged into the joint wedding account, the one connected to my direct deposit, the one I'd been quietly filling for the last year, the one they treated like it came from nowhere. I stared at the balance for a long moment. My chest felt tight, but my hands were steady. I left just enough for the vendors I personally hired and had contracts with, the photographer, the florist, the deposit for the small venue I'd paid for months ago before Chelsea decided it wasn't glamorous enough. Then I pulled the rest. A few clicks, a confirmation email. Years of being the family ATM reduced to a neat line in my banking app. I also texted Brian. Hey, just a heads up. I won't be covering the rest of your rent for October or November. You two will need to handle that yourselves. No explanation, no argument. Just a boundary where there had never been one. It was time to grow up, For all of us. That night, my phone buzzed nonstop with the family group chat. Chelsea sent a meme of a girl sobbing into a pile of receipts. Mom replied with a crying, laughing emoji. For the first time in months, Brian chimed in. Good riddance. I didn't respond. I just left the chat. That tiny blue Naomi left the conversation bubble might as well have been a grenade. By morning, the explosion hit. 14 missed calls from Mom, 2 from Chelsea, 3 from Brian. Then came the texts. Mom, Naomi, be reasonable. You're overreacting. Chelsea. How could you do this to me right before the biggest day of my life? Brian. You're being selfish. This isn't about you. I put the phone face down on the table. At 7:30 a.m., my doorbell started ringing like there was a fire. Mom stood on my porch in pajama pants and slippers, hair unbrushed, eyes wild. Chelsea sat in the car behind her, face blotchy, hair damp, like she'd cried herself into a shower and then back out again. Mom didn't wait to be invited in. She pushed past me like the house belonged to her. What were you thinking? She snapped. Why would you sabotage your own sister's wedding? I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. The early light made everything look harsher, sharper. I didn't sabotage anything, I said. I just stopped playing my part in a script you wrote without me. They both stared at me like they'd never seen me before. Good, I thought. You're about to meet a whole new version of me. They ranted, pleaded, accused. I listened. I didn't budge. By the time they left, Chelsea wouldn't even look at me. Mom's last words hung heavy in the air. You'll regret this, she said. I closed the door gently. For the next 2 days, there was nothing. No calls, no texts. The family chat stayed dead silent. I imagined Chelsea scrambling, trying to glue together the scraps of her fairy tale wedding. Or maybe she was just too angry to look at her phone. Either way, the silence felt good. Like standing in a room after the air conditioner shuts off and you realize how loud it had been the whole time. On the third day, Chelsea broke the silence. I was scrolling through emails during my lunch break when a notification popped up from Instagram. @Chelsea Bloom tagged you in a post. My stomach tightened. She'd posted a slideshow of grainy stock photos, backyard weddings, mason jars with fake flowers, couples holding hands in front of rusty barbecue grills. The caption read, "Real love doesn't need a big budget. See you all soon for our intimate, authentic day, surrounded by real family only." At the end, a smirking face emoji. And my username. The same hour, an email rolled in, a wedding invite made with some free Canva template. Backyard wedding at Brian's uncle's house. Bring your own drinks. Donations instead of gifts. Casual dress. Love is all we need. It looked like a 4th grade graduation party. I clicked RSVP, yes. Not because I wanted to support her. I just needed to see what my silence had created. The day of the wedding, the sky was low and gray, heavy with humidity. My hair frizzed the moment I stepped out of the car. The yard was already packed with vehicles parked haphazardly on patchy grass. The smell of hot dogs, overcooked and somehow sour, clung to the air like smoke. Folding chairs, some metal, some plastic, were scattered around the lawn. Mismatched plastic tablecloths flapped lazily in the damp breeze. A single Bluetooth speaker sat on a card table, wires sticking out like weeds. Chelsea's high school friend Jenna was DJing from her phone, standing behind a cooler of cheap beer. The music kept cutting out every time someone walked too far from the speaker. Kids ran around throwing rocks at the fence. 2 of the aluminum catering trays were already empty, and dinner hadn't even officially started. Chelsea's dress was stiff and shiny, the kind that creased too easily. Clearance rack, if I had to guess. Brian looked like he hadn't slept in 3 days. Mom wore a faded pink sundress and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. They hadn't even rented a tent. If the sky decided to open up, that would be that. Still, Chelsea moved through the crowd like she was the saint of budget romance, kissing cheeks and announcing, "It's a vibe," to anyone who looked uncertain. I sat near the back and picked at my food. Hardly anyone spoke to me. A few people threw quick glances in my direction, then away. Clearly, they'd been fed a very specific version of the story. At some point, Chelsea grabbed a microphone, if you could call it that, and stood near the fire pit where the grass had turned into a muddy ring. Her smile was too bright, too tight. I knew that smile. It was the one she used when things were falling apart, but the camera was still rolling. "I just want to say thank you to everyone here," she began, voice ringing a little too loudly. "The people who matter, the ones who didn't abandon us when things got hard, the ones who know family isn't about money, it's about love, about loyalty." Scattered claps, a few murmurs of agreement. Then she turned toward me. My skin prickled. I know some women struggle to understand what it means to build a family, she said. Some women just throw money at things because they know they'll never experience the real thing, like carrying a child, being a mother. The world narrowed to a buzzing in my ears. I couldn't move. She smiled wider, sensing the impact. But that's okay, she went on. Not everyone's meant to be a mom. Some people are just meant to fund other people's happiness until they're not needed anymore. The yard went dead silent. An older relative gasped. A few people gave these small, nervous laughs that died almost immediately. Brian stood behind her, hands in his pockets, eyes on the ground. I stood up, walked across the yard, feeling every set of eyes latch onto me. At the makeshift bar, I picked up a full glass of champagne. Without saying a single word, I stepped in front of her and poured it slowly over her head. The liquid soaked her hair, her cheap veil, the too shiny dress. Her mascara bled down her cheeks. No screaming, no slap, no dramatic monologue. Just silence. I set the empty glass on the table, turned, and walked away. No one tried to stop me. That night, my phone lit up over and over again. Calls from Mom, texts from Brian. Chelsea tried 5 times. I let every one of them go to voicemail. But I did read the messages from people who'd been there. I don't know you well, but what she said was disgusting. You didn't deserve that. She embarrassed herself, not you. For the first time, someone outside the family had seen it. All of it. The next morning, my doorbell rang at 7 a.m. like a fire alarm. Mom stood there in her nightgown, arms crossed, jaw clenched. Be happy now, she said, brushing past me into the living room. You humiliated your sister. You humiliated this family. You ruined her big day. You made me look like a fool. Not one word about what Chelsea had said. Not one mention of the infertility jab that landed like a knife. You escalated it, she kept saying. You didn't have to pour that drink. You made it ugly. You just couldn't let her have her moment. When she finally ran out of words, she stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. Later that day, Brian texted for the first time in months. You crossed a line. You're petty, jealous, vindictive. You don't get to punish people just because your life didn't go how you wanted it to. That one landed heavier than I wanted to admit. I stared at the screen, feeling something shift. They still thought I was the problem. They had no idea that this was the moment everything in their perfect little world began to crack. For the first time in years, the house was quiet. No group chat explosions. No passive-aggressive family reminders. No Chelsea needing something, demanding something, expecting something. Just silence. A strange, fragile silence I didn't trust. On the second day after the backyard wedding disaster, my phone started buzzing again. Not with anger this time, but with something worse. Pleading. Mom called 3 times, her voice strained in every voicemail. Chelsea hadn't left her room. Chelsea wasn't eating. Chelsea was crying too hard to talk to anyone. Every message Mom sent carried the same sharp undertone. This is your fault. But when I asked Mom a simple question, has she acknowledged what she said about my infertility? The line went quiet. Then Mom sighed. She was emotional, she said. She didn't mean it. And besides, she wasn't wrong, Naomi. That sentence carved a hollow place inside me, not because it was new, but because it wasn't. Mom had always known how to make a wound feel like a fact. I hung up without another word. The tide turns. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. My phone lit up, not with family, but with strangers. Guests. Co-workers who'd come as someone's +1. Distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. One message read, "That wasn't a toast, it was an attack. Anyone would have walked out." Another, "She humiliated herself, not you." And another, "I don't even know you, but that was cruel. I'm sorry." I didn't respond to any of them. I didn't need to. I screenshotted every single one, not for revenge, but to remind myself that I wasn't insane. That I hadn't blown things out of proportion the way Mom kept insisting. That someone, anyone, had seen the truth. By the end of the day, I had dozens of messages saved. Not pity. Proof. And then, silence again. Chelsea didn't post anything on Instagram. Brian didn't brag about the authentic backyard wedding that he clearly hated. No filtered honeymoon photos. No gushing captions. Just nothing. A void where the performance used to be. The quiet made me uneasy, like standing in the eye of a storm. Mom's half apology. That night, my phone rang again. Mom. Her voice was softer this time, almost unfamiliar. She canceled the honeymoon, she said. She's too embarrassed to leave the house. People are talking. I waited. Mom took a shaky breath. Maybe. Another pause. Maybe we failed you too, Naomi. Maybe we should have defended you more. It wasn't a full apology, but it was more than I'd ever gotten. Before I could respond, she hung up. like she couldn't bear to sit in her own words for too long. I didn't call her back. The knock at 11 p.m., almost midnight. I sat in my dim living room, nursing a half-finished glass of wine, staring out the window into the quiet street. The kind of quiet that feels staged, like the universe holding its breath. Then, knock, soft, then again louder. A cold, heavy feeling pooled in my stomach. When I opened the door, I lost all my breath. Chelsea stood there, hair tangled, mascara smeared, eyes swollen and red like she'd cried herself into exhaustion. Her dress was gone, replaced by sweatpants, an oversized t-shirt, and a cardigan she used to steal from me in high school. In her hands, she held her wedding heels, sparkly, damaged, mud still clinging to the soles. She looked at them, then at me. When I didn't take them, she sank to her knees on my doorstep. Just folded, like someone whose entire bones had given out. I messed up, she whispered. Her voice cracked like thin glass. No excuses, no theatrics, just the truth she'd run from her entire life. I stepped aside. Come in, Chelsea. The truth behind her attack. Chelsea sat on my couch, shaking, not crying, shaking, hands trembling, breath stuttering, like a trapped animal who finally stopped pretending the trap wasn't there. She clutched her phone, staring at it like it was radioactive. I was angry, she said, and humiliated. Everyone was watching me. Everything was falling apart, and you're always the one who looks stable. The word sounded like a curse. I was the easiest target, she whispered. Then her body flinched, a physical recoil before she forced out, "It wasn't even my idea." I frowned. What do you mean? She swallowed and unlocked her phone. I don't deserve forgiveness, she said, but you deserve the truth. She handed me her phone. A text from Brian. Hit her where it hurts. Say something about her never having kids. She'll back off. Another. This is your day. Don't let her take the spotlight. My stomach twisted. He weaponized my infertility, encouraged it, scripted it. Chelsea wiped her face with the sleeve of her cardigan. I wanted to delete them, she said, but I couldn't, not after everything. My throat tightened, but I didn't speak. Chelsea continued, voice barely audible. I wasn't even pregnant, Naomi. I stared at her. She pulled her knees up to her chest. I made it up, to make the wedding seem more special, to make Mom care more, to make Brian pay more attention. It snowballed, and then I used your truth to sell my lie. She looked at me, eyes hollow. I want my sister back. I exhaled, slow, steady. I'm not saying forgiveness is off the table, I said, but it isn't free. Chelsea nodded without hesitation. I'll earn it, she whispered, whatever it takes. The night she broke. Chelsea slept on my couch that night, curled under a throw blanket, quiet and small, like the little girl who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. Except this time, she wasn't hiding from thunder. She was hiding from her life, her choices, her marriage, her own reflection. I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. Her attack, her collapse, Brian's messages, Mom's words, my own anger, sharp and deep and complicated. But beneath it all, something else flickered. A feeling I'd forgotten she could give me. Hope. Not forgiveness, not yet. But the first crack of light through a very old wall. By morning, the storm would return. But tonight, there was calm. A broken, painful calm, but calm all the same. Morning came quietly. Sunlight crept through the blinds in thin strips, falling across my living room where Chelsea lay curled on the couch. For a moment, she looked peaceful, not performing, not posing, not trying to impress anyone. Just a girl who'd finally hit the bottom of the well she'd been digging for years. I brewed coffee, half expecting her to wake up and slip back into her old self. But when she sat up, hair matted, eyes swollen, hoodie hanging off one shoulder, she looked at me with something raw and unfamiliar. Honesty. She slid off the couch and onto the floor, wrapping her arms around her knees. Her voice came out small. Naomi, I don't think I even love him. I didn't respond right away. I let the words settle. Chelsea took out her phone, hands shaking, and scrolled through messages I knew she didn't want to see twice. Then she handed me the screen. Texts from Brian. More than the ones she'd shown last night. She's lucky you even tolerate her. Your sister thinks she's better than you. Put her in her place. Once you're pregnant for real, she'll disappear for good. Your family listens to you. Use it. My stomach clenched. This wasn't just manipulation. It was deliberate cruelty, the kind that rots someone from the inside out. Chelsea wiped her nose on her sleeve. He tells people I have money. Says our life is perfect. Like I'm some accessory he gets to carry around. She bit the inside of her cheek. And I let him. For the first time, she didn't say it with drama, or self-pity, or theatrics. Just truth. The kind that hurts. packing the duffel. By noon, Chelsea stood at my kitchen table staring at her cold coffee. "I can't stay married to him," she whispered. "I can't stay with someone who thinks tearing me apart is leadership." She glanced up at me, searching, terrified, hopeful. "Will you come with me to pack?" I nodded once. We drove to her apartment in silence. Quiet, heavy silence. Not tense, just tired. While Brian was at work, Chelsea moved through the apartment with a calmness I hadn't seen in years. No crying, no spiraling. Just choosing herself. She threw clothes into a duffel bag, grabbed a toothbrush, a charger, a notebook. Ignored everything he bought for her, everything he made her proud to display. She paused at the vanity he insisted she use for her makeup reels. Her reflection looked unfamiliar to her. She pulled the light bulbs out of the mirror, one at a time, and set them on the table. A small rebellion. Then she walked out without leaving a note. No dramatic goodbye, no speech, just gone. And this time, she didn't shut me out. She texted me updates, sent pictures of the cheap hotel room she checked into, asked if I'd eaten dinner. Little things sisters do. Things we hadn't done in years. "Mom breaks," Mom called that night, voice frantic. "I can't find Chelsea. She's not answering. Her car is gone. What did you two do?" I didn't let her spin it into another attack on me. "Chelsea is safe," I said firmly. "She just needs space." For once, God, for the first time ever, Mom didn't argue. She went quiet, then soft. "Is she okay?" "Not yet," I said. "But she will be." Mom sniffed on the other end. But she didn't blame, didn't lash out. She listened, maybe for the first time in her life. The lawyer visit. The next morning, Chelsea showed up at my place wearing jeans, a hoodie, and sneakers. No makeup, no jewelry, no curated image. "Will you come with me?" she asked. Of course. The law office felt too bright, too clean, too adult for the mess of her life. The lawyer, a calm, middle-aged woman with a voice like steady water, asked gentle questions. "Do you want alimony?" "No." "Will you need financial support from family?" Chelsea looked directly at me. "No," she said. "Not anymore. I have what actually matters." Her voice didn't shake. When we walked out, Chelsea exhaled for what felt like the first real breath she'd taken since the wedding. "I wasted so much time," she said, "trying to be what Mom wanted, trying to give Brian some picture-perfect life. I didn't even like my own wedding, Naomi." She looked at me. "Come with me to Mom's? I can't do this alone." I nodded. The truth on the porch. When Mom opened the door, she already had tears in her eyes. Chelsea stepped forward and told everything. Every lie. Every manipulation. The fake pregnancy. Brian's messages. The infertility comment he pushed her to use. The pressure. The performance. The humiliation. She didn't soften it, didn't dramatize it, just told it straight. Mom covered her mouth, shoulders shaking. Tears streamed down her face. Then she looked at me. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry I made you invisible. I'm sorry I didn't defend you. I'm sorry I didn't listen." The apology I'd stopped believing I'd ever hear. Chelsea cried. Mom cried. I didn't, but something inside me loosened, like a knot that had been strangling me for years. We left as a trio cracked open, but somehow lighter. The ring on the counter. Back at my place, Chelsea stood in the kitchen, her hands trembling. She slipped off her wedding ring, set it on the counter, and stepped back from it. "That chapter's done," she said quietly. I think I want to move. Somewhere small. Somewhere no one knows me." 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized, she did. She moved to Asheville. Waitressed. Rented a tiny apartment. Texted me pictures of chipped mugs and stray cats she fed behind the building. Her messages were different now. Gentle, sincere. No performance. No entitlement. No comparison. Just real. For the first time, she let me in without expecting me to save her. The letter. A month later, a thick envelope arrived in my mailbox. Chelsea's handwriting. Inside was a 4-page letter. Not begging, not dramatic, not justifying. Just owning everything. Every lie. Every cruel word. Every time she used me. Every way she compared our lives to make herself feel bigger. At the end, she wrote, "I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope you still see me as someone worth forgiving." I read it twice. Then I picked up my phone. Dialed her number. She answered on the second ring. "Naomi?" she whispered. My voice was steady. "Yeah, I'm here. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But something real. Something honest. Something finally worth rebuilding."